Turns out the Trump administration has dropped, and I mean dropped, more than 23,000 criminal cases during the first 6 months of the president's second term. And that's according to a bombshell report that was just published by ProPublica. So it turns out that the government redirected their crime fighting efforts toward prosecuting immigration cases instead. So if someone is here in the country illegally and literally the only thing they did was overstay their visa or cross the border illegally, that is not a violent crime. That's not a dangerous crime. That's not something that's going to put our lives in danger. That's, I would venture to say that dealing with convicted, violent individuals who are here illegally, who got convicted of crimes, yeah, deport them. I have no problem with that. But you're gonna redirect resources related to fighting crime that actually does damage American society to deportation efforts. Okay, so let me give you the details. You can decide for yourselves if you think this is a good thing or a bad thing. I think this is terrible. So Attorney General Pam Bondi absolutely insists that the President of the United States, Donald Trump, is taking a stand when it comes to rampant crime. Is he? I mean, you want to deal with rampant crime, I would maybe look within the White House, but okay. So during a roundtable alongside Trump, Bondi touted the accomplishments of the Memphis Special Task Force. Okay, so this is allegedly a task force that was designed by the Trump administration to stop all violent crime in the city of Memphis. Take a listen.
Thank you, President Trump. Some people choose to tolerate crime, but you chose law and order.
Did he? Because I remember not too long ago, Trump engaged in an attempted cover up of the Epstein files. By the way, we still don't have access to half of the files. And Pam Bondi, it was your office that made it abundantly clear to the American people that regardless of what's found in the Epstein files, there will be no investigations, no prosecutions. You can't pretend to be the crime fighters when you are providing cover for literal pedophiles. But I digress. You will be shocked to learn that the numbers, when applied to a national scale, paint a very different picture from what Pam Bondi would have you believe. So as we mentioned earlier, ProPublica found that Trump's DOJ dropped over 23,000 criminal cases in just 6 months. That is a big deal. Most of them were dropped prior to any prosecution, any trial taking place. So these are individuals who were charged. There was never any trial, no prosecution. That is bad. That is not good, okay? And that's also unusual. So take a look at this graph that was provided by ProPublica to show you the spike in the number of criminal cases that were dropped by Trump's DOJ. You can see that huge spike at the very end of the graph. And we saw basically an increase of 11,000 cases being dropped by the DOJ. It's the highest reported since 2004. And by the way, if you're wondering what kind of crimes are we talking about here, maybe they're not that big of a deal. Well, I'm sure you'll be very surprised to find that the cases that are dropped are typically labor fraud. Who cares if you're screwing over workers? Who cares? Who cares? Labor fraud, white collar crime. Those cases get dropped. But then you have cases that impact national security. Why are we dropping cases pertaining to individuals who carried out or could have carried out crimes, are accused of carrying out crimes that jeopardize national security? What are we doing? And also something I care about, drug trafficking. Now, I get that people who have substance abuse issues, addiction issues, they need help. I don't want them in prison, okay? I want them to get help. Drug traffickers are a different story. And I'm not talking about some small, teenagers selling pot to his classmates. Don't do that, please don't do that, it's a bad idea. But I'm specifically talking about there are people who go to homeless encampments and prey on these people. Okay, I want those people dealt with. Sorry, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but if you're preying on individuals who are homeless, who are desperate, and you're either getting them addicted to drugs or you're feeding their addiction, I think you should be dealt with. And by the way, in this case, we're talking about federal drug trafficking charges. These are serious charges. Trump dropped them. Remember when he pretended like everything we were doing with that military buildup in the Caribbean to take out Maduro was about drug trafficking? Oh, he cares about drug trafficking so much. No, he doesn't. No, they don't. So these were all, by the way, lightning rod issues in Trump's 2024 presidential campaign. He purported to care deeply about these issues, but why is he dropping 23,000 criminal cases pertaining to these issues? So a concerted effort to redirect DOJ resources toward immigration is what led Trump to essentially shift away from these prosecutions. So in the same 6-month period that those cases were dropped, the administration prosecuted 32,000 immigration-related cases. ProPublica reports that the DOJ has undergone an extraordinary overhaul under the Trump administration, with entire units shuttered, directives to abandon pursuit of certain crimes, and thousands of lawyers quitting or, in some cases, being forced out of the agency. In doing so, the DOJ is retreating from its mission to impartially uphold the rule of law, keep the country safe, and protect civil rights. And that's according to interviews with a dozen prosecutors and an open letter from nearly 300 DOJ employees who have left the department under Trump. So what exactly has suffered as a result of these changes? Well, let's go through it one by one, starting with drug enforcement. So the Justice Department, according to ProPublica's report, has declined to prosecute nearly 5,000 cases of federal drug law violations, including trafficking and money laundering. The number of declinations, so that's basically when they drop the charges or drop the case, were 45% higher than the average of the prior 3 new administrations. As for national security, which we should care about deeply at this moment, given the hostility that people across the globe must be feeling toward the US. I mean, we're totally messing up the global economy with this stupid war that the US is now fighting in Iran on behalf of Israel. Under Bondi, the DOJ declined more than 1,300 cases involving terrorism and national security, nearly twice what was typical at the start of the most recent new administrations. Why are administrations dropping terrorism and national security cases to begin with? Look, I get it. Staying on top of the news these days feels like a trap. Every outlet has an angle. Every headline is designed to get a reaction. And if you're only seeing the story from one perspective, you're probably missing most of what actually matters. To really understand what's going on, you need to see how the narrative is being shaped. That's exactly why I use Ground News. Ground News is an app and website that aggregates reporting from across the political spectrum and lays it out side by side so you can compare how different outlets are framing the same story in real time. Take this story about the FBI investigating an executive who resigned over the Iran war. One outlet wants you thinking about the Trump administration and the bigger context surrounding the Iran war, while another wants you focused narrowly on alleged leaks. With Ground News, that difference is immediate. You can compare headlines from left, right, and center bias ratings in just one view. You can check source factuality, see who owns the publications, and get a clear snapshot of how the coverage breaks down across the political spectrum. They also have a feature called the blind spot feed, which highlights stories that are being heavily covered by one side of the political spectrum and almost completely ignored by the other. And that's useful because sometimes what the media avoids tells you more than what they lead with. If you want to stay informed without getting played by media spin, I think Ground News is a really valuable tool. Go to ground.news/TYT or scan the QR code. Using our link gets you 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan. Don't let them shape the narrative for you. See the full picture for yourself. I mean, assuming that there are legitimate, there's legitimate concern here that the perpetrators were gonna carry out violent or terroristic acts. Like what's going on here? So while domestic terrorism was the hardest hit program just over 300 cases involving charges of providing material support to foreign terrorist organizations were also dropped. That is fascinating, especially considering the fact that Palestinian Columbia students, the PhD student from Tufts who got arrested and detained for co-authoring an op-ed for the school paper. Like, these people were detained because they were critical of Israel. But now we're learning that there were individuals accused of actually giving material support to terror groups, but their cases were dropped by the DOJ. That's pretty explosive, isn't it? So that's a pretty interesting development. Labor cases were affected as well, as I said. So the DOJ shut down over 60 union corruption and labor racketeering cases, 2.5 times the number in Trump's first term. Nearly half of the cases turned down for those offenses were out of the New Jersey United States Attorney's Office, which in the past has aggressively pursued alleged union corruption. All were noted as declined for insufficient evidence. Again, interesting, as this was supposed to be the sole function of Doge, for instance. And then finally, you have the white collar crime, something that Trump is very familiar with. Oh, he jumps in it. He loves it, right? Like, would you really think that the Trump administration is gonna be obsessed with fighting white collar crime? So ProPublica reports that the DOJ has shut down more than 900 cases of federal program or procurement fraud in the first 6 months of the administration, including one targeting a mortgage lender accused by several state regulators of defrauding the Federal Housing Administration. Well, Pam Bondi has a lot of experience with this, doesn't she? The case was dropped due to prioritization of federal resources and interests, namely, I guess, going after undocumented immigrants, even if they haven't been convicted of any other crime aside from just being in the country without papers. Aren't you tired of winning?
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.